Well, hello. How are you doing today? Can you hear me?
I'm doing great.
Oh, you
Uh,
okay, so you can hear me. Can everybody else hear
yes,
me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great.
All right.
So we have a
Yeah.
lot to cover. We have one of Inga's friends later on in a little bit, as soon as we get through
Okay.
the lecture, who we're going to
Right.
take a look at her chart. And Christina asked me a question yesterday, and I told her I was going to look at
hmm
it, and it actually involved, it was something that involved her husband, but I saw something in the two charts, and I was like, you know what? This is a great opportunity to show them something. Here's a combination.
Right.
I'll bet you this is something that neither one of them
Right.
noticed.
Yeah, that's always something
Yeah.
else, right?
And why, hey
Yeah.
Inga, hey Ginger, hey Raji, and why, one of the reasons why we tell them
Hi.
all the time, stay in your chart. We cannot impress upon you enough how important it is. If you're looking to learn this, stay in your chart. Anyway, we have a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah, we have a lot to cover, so
Okay.
we're gonna jump right into that. I think. What do you think about that? I think that that's
Yeah,
probably
sure.
a
Sounds
good
great.
idea.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. My son likes to do stuff at the very wrong time. No, Stephen, you're not now. Sorry. I don't like anybody being around me when I do this. If they're reaching around me, going through my desk, I can't stand that. Okay. Yeah, like right in the middle of
Right.
something. Hey, Cheryl, how you doing? Okay. All right. Well, let's see. I just real quick, I want to go over something. If you haven't joined the or registered for the app yet, please come and register over here. Do not forget to confirm your email. Without an
Right.
email confirmation, you won't be able to access the app. Once you've confirmed your email, then all you have to do is come over here and click on the app. If the app isn't working for you, check your spam folder, check your trash folder, check your promotional folders, check your different folders because the app, you see it right here, it says that it's a free app. A lot of times it just goes right into a spam folder because it's free. So
Right.
yeah. So if we can make sure that you guys take care of that, that would be phenomenal. Okay? All right. All right. If we can get everybody to take a nice deep cleansing breath. I know it's been a heck of a week for me. I don't know about anybody else. I barely made it here today. To be honest with you, I was so tired. I wanted to sleep right through class. I was I just didn't I
Right.
just wasn't feeling well. Just not feeling it, but I'm here. All right. So if we can all take a nice deep cleansing breath and a nice deep breath of unification with each other and a nice deep breath of unification with God. Dear God, we ask that you guide each of us in our path, that we would find clarity in Uranian astrology. Please remove the blocks of self-proclaimed experts and expertise and show us the truth in the stars. Inspire each of us to seek only divine proof in astrology. Please strip us of all false beliefs and reveal only profound truth. Allow divine knowledge to burst forth into our highest vibration and awareness. May we feel our spiritual connection with the celestial DNA in all of us more deeply, powerfully, and substantially than ever before. Please open our minds, hearts, souls, that we would each find enlightenment. And so it is. We thank you. Amen. Okay, so you know where you are, right? You are the My Astro World Uranian Astrology School. And this is the home of free Uranian astrology classes and the free Uranian Astrology app. And our brand is proof. Today's lecture begins with a little bit of an issue. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and it seems that this class is having a problem with some basic geometry. In working with some of you, I've found that the same mistake is being repeated. The quickest way to learn this work is to stay in your charts and the charts of the people and the situations where you can speak to the astrology. This is why, as a school, we make all of you work on your charts. This is why we work on your past events for such a long time. If you want to learn this, stay in the charts of the people you know. Many of you have been wasting very valuable time, and this is where you're at. Okay? You're confusing yourself. You're all over the place. You're trying to predict new friendships and new relationships. And all you're doing is ensuring that some of your work is going to miss the major points in the people's charts that you're looking at because you don't know them. You don't know the astrology. You're never going to learn it by trying to learn it in charts you do not know. Learn the method by staying in your own chart. You should constantly be looking at the charts of the people you know and your past, not the people you don't know and your future. Our method. I realize that Uranian astrology is all over the place on the internet, but it's not something I picked up on the internet. In fact, I have a 15-year traceable history on the internet where I'm the actual pioneer of screen share astrology on the internet. Okay? I am aware of, and I have tested out the multiple house theories, the Westeranian nonsense, the myriad of theories that have been postulated by the protagonists of Planetary Pain and Suffering. It's the long way around. It's right out of the nasty commentary from the Astrologers that dates all the way back to Witt introducing his work in Germany to astrologers. They were terrible to him. His papers prove it. It's probably the most logical and likely reason that not much of his work was translated. It's truly a scathing indictment on the interference of astrologers. Our method is the fastest, easiest method to learn Uranian astrology. And for this reason, we want all of you to master this work by using your own charts. Once you're able to interpret your own chart and the chart of people closest to you, that's when you understand the work and you're ready to go outside of your chart. Sacred geometry is a term that's been passed around but not applied or understood. Now, if you want to learn to master Uranian astrology, you have to master the sacred geometry part of this, which is the repetition of the patterns. In astrology, these patterns would have to agree with each other constantly. When the radix, solar arc, and transiting half sum share the same aspect, they're in agreement with each other in as far as energy, and they produce an event. When they agree with each other in synastry, they're in agreement in as far as energy, and they share an experience. The agreement, when planets are like this, is sacred geometry. The triple pattern is the Fibonacci sequence of nature. The problem with understanding this is astrologers throw this around. Witte was a mathematician. He understood that the patterns must agree with each other. Sacred geometry was never and will never be an aspect of one planet to another, which it seems that a lot of astrologers seem to think that it is, that it's whatever it is above is below, and that's sacred geometry. It is not. Sacred geometry, by its very definition, is the repetition of patterns, so not planet contacts or aspects in astrology. Astrologers repeat a lot of things without understanding what they are. My introduction to astrology was in the mid to late 70s, so I've been surrounded by geniuses my entire life. Geniuses don't repeat each other. Geniuses establish and prove out theory. Vitae was a genius in a sea of astrologers. Midpoints only agree with each other when they share a geometric pattern and an axis point in the same way half thumbs does. It works for synastry, it works for midpoints. This is why and where astrologers run amok with repetition and regurgitation rather than association and application. Oh, sorry. We got a little lost there. All right. Now, from the earliest days of Uranian astrology, Vitae was trying to establish and get people to understand that the geometric pattern and the reduction and the tridial of the natal solar arc and directed and transiting planets could line up in patterns that share an axis point. The language of the astrologers is more loose than luminous. Vitae was all about math. His understanding of their verbiage is mathematical. That's why the Fibonacci sequence would have been important and he would have applied it. Always the answer is that a midpoint and a half sum, anything for an event or in a relationship, they have to share an axis point and they have to be repeating themselves. The repetition has to be in a geometric pattern that contacts each other. Energy is everything in astrology, and we always have to find the agreement in the planets by way of the patterns. That's always going to be the sacred geometry. It's the thing that we always have to look for in the chart. That's what you're always looking for, patterns and planets that are repeating itself. The intersection and the agreement is what's creating the energy for the relationships as well as the events. So there's nothing more provable than this salient point in astrology. We're always seen to connect things to each other in some sort of repetition. They have to connect to create the energy to manifest here in events as well as relationships. Vitae knew he had to find the connection. I feel strongly that he was deeply inspired by profound ethereal energy, and it drove him back to the Arabic parts. And, Arabic parts were words that were created by math. It was this planet plus this planet equals this planet. You now have a word. This was the blog that I wrote last week. This was the origin. This is where he started. So the only thing that could make any sense is if they contacted each other in a math and a geometrical pattern. That's the origin of Uranian astrology. That is clear. Vitae always reverted back to math and science. He understood that everything that astrologers were doing had to come back to scientific and mathematical principles in order to work. So if you use Occam's razor, it's that the simplest solution has to be the most obvious solution or the right solution. It's necessary versus unnecessary. Astrology is all over the place. Our method is simple and direct. The concept and the theories being pushed have had years to prove themselves. I have tried them out, as have others. The consistency of proof for astrology is different than the consistency of proof for those that call themselves astrologers. If you're a skeptic and you're trying to prove astrology, you don't care whether it comes out or not. What's important is if it does, it matters. If it doesn't, you dismiss it. Astrologers seem to be bound and determined that all that matters is that they can call it proof. The founder Vit understood the math and science. Astrology is and always was a pseudoscience that never quite made it to the science table because of the vague work. We have to do better. It's been a fringe of hobbyists, but not astrophysicists and not people of science. Vit came along and he was changing the game. So if you're using a house system, you're wrong. All of astrology is theoretical. My Astroworld Uranian Astrology School is picking up where Vitae left off. We're not interested in all the different schools of astrology that are out here, and they've done little to progress science and proof since he tried in vain before his death. We're offering what we're offering here to prove the astrology. This requires staying in your charts, proving out your past, proving out your relationships, proving out your friendships, your breakups, your breakdowns, your deaths, your loves, your losses, your moves. That's why we're here. That's why we offer you the app. We're offering all of this to all of you. And we're not selling it to you because of the importance of the factor of science. We're here to establish proof. Working with others can prove out their lives. It's just as important that your colleagues, that your coworkers, that your fellow students, that your fellow astrologers can prove out every event in their life as it is in yours. So the repetition of the basic steps to read the charts our way is required. Obviously, we're giving you the app. That's also required. Our method is not more or less theoretical than any other type of astrology out here. It's radical and it's different, and it should be because it's called Uranian. We're here offering this to everyone to be able to prove out the astrology rather than to continue to postulate. Let's everyone have an opportunity to prove the work. Get a free account at My Astro World. Help us unfold your chart and prove astrology in your life as well as in the lives of the people that are close to you. That's what we're doing here. If you like our work, please do not forget at the end of today's lecture and our work on charts, which we're about to begin, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Our subscribe button is there. All of our buttons are at the top of the banner page here on YouTube and in the bottom. So you'll be able to find each and every one of us. Now, this is your time to submit your questions. I have a couple of chart questions to go over. If you're listening to us and you want to do something next week, submit your questions on YouTube and Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn. We will pick up the questions. We will do your charts. Send us a message. Follow us on Facebook. Get in touch with us. Give us your data, and we'll absolutely work your charts. Everyone's invited. Now, this is that time of the show for the open forum. This is where you get to ask the proven experts, guys. This is our little thing. Hey, Christina, you're just now showing up. Always missing the lecture. You're going to have to come back and listen to this earlier. All right. So I have a chart. Is Solvega's friend here? I mean, not Solvega, Inga's friend. I don't know the pronunciation. Where is Inga, by the way?
I think she's here. Yeah, she's on here. She's on YouTube.
Okay. Let me get. Inga, can you come into Gatekeepers? Are you able to do that? Hi, darling.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, we can.
It's been so
Been so
long.
long. Yeah, exactly.
No.
It's like every time she comes, she's like, I have to get to know how to work everything again. So
That's the case.
I have your friend's. Okay, great. I have your friend's chart. So was there something in particular that she was interested in? Because one of the
Yeah.
yeah, one of the things that happens, particularly in in astrology, and people don't understand this, and I'm really trying to get people to learn this. I know that in Uranian astrology, they tell you to look for the solar arc sun, and that wherever the solar arc sun, in this case, this is where it is, and this is going to tell you what's going on in this year. And there's no question that to some degree that's true. But she has a lot going on in her chart, and it seems like she has had some sudden surprising moves and advantages and relationships that have developed, and she's looking what to do with respect to her best options for commerce and work. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of going on in her life now. Yeah,
Okay.
so she doesn't know really the direction.
Yeah. So if you're looking at her chart, I don't know if you noticed this in her just just in her basic chart, but she has this marker here. So this is a person who is fortunate by research, antiques, things that are old, transformation of old objects. So this is a creative individual, and I don't feel like she's really doing a lot of creative work, or that that's what her work is right now. But this is a profoundly creative individual. Now, I don't know what she wants, but those are standout things in her chart that she should know. That she should fuel and feed her creativity, and she should definitely focus, because this aspect right here, she should definitely focus on the powerful energy that she's feeling, because whatever she's doing right now is creating a lot of good karma. She's probably feeling overwhelmed, because when you're in the process of literally creating and manifesting good karma, and that's what these markers are, you're usually shedding a lot of problems, fears, dissolving old relationships, um, leaving difficult, muddy relationships behind, and like finding a better or a different way forward for ourselves. That tends to be what happens during that kind of a planetary aspect. And it's strong. It doesn't even need to be in a triple pattern because of what it is.
Mm.
So the shedding of, I see she's listening. Yeah. Have you been like with, by no fault of your own, relationships are ending and changing, and you're feeling different about things, and it seems the best analogy for your chart right now is you are like a an artist who works with ceramics, and they start out with a pile of clay and you create something. So you've just finished, say creating a vase, and that's done, and now you're sitting with a whole new pile of clay and you don't know what to do. So you've shed relationships, you've finished some projects, you've done what you needed to do, and now there's just this big lump in front of you and you're not sure where to go and what to do. You have to be true to your creative nature. And I you know, I look at your chart, and you're incredibly metaphysical, you're incredibly sharp. Does she work in the field of science?
Well, she's actually working jurisdiction,
Oh, law.
um, and she was, yeah, she was promoted, and now she's like a big boss. But she has a business on the side,
Is it
which
creative?
it is like well, it's a tourism.
Oh.
It's a tourism industry, and she's not she she basically doesn't have time to run the business, but it's there. It's her mother's inheritance, and she doesn't really know what to do with it.
It's not really her.
So,
It's not really her. Like if somebody had left you a bakery or an art shop, you'd know what to do with it. You don't know what to do with a
yes,
you don't know
yeah,
what to do with a travel agency or a tourist. Okay.
yeah.
Why don't you hire somebody?
She has actually just recently, but it's
Why
not going as
why don't you do it?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think friends can work together. Well,
Well, you should look at your chart. That's not really true. Lots of businesses begin with friendships. It's that you have to have an agreement as to what you're doing. Um, the way we say this, that friends can't work together, dishonest people can't work together. Friends can work together. When you have an employer who's taking advantage of an employee, like taking more money than they really should from an employee while an employee's really working their ass off, then that's not a friendship. Do you see the disadvantages? But when people are being honest and upfront, people can work together all the time without a problem. You're looking for a job, you should look at both of your charts and see whether or not this is something that would work for both of you. Maybe you could turn this into something. You're a friendly person. You're certainly sociable. But that's a whole other issue. Her issue is the creative part of her is not being fed. You're in law? See, that would have been more Mars Chronos here. So Venus, Zeus.
like, how do you look at the chart if a person has two jobs going on?
Well, having two jobs means that you work in multiple, you work in a variety of things, but your vocation is really the issue. Your vocation. Well, you're a thinking person. You see how you have Mars equals Jupiter? This is a person who your life expands by deep thought. So now I'm seeing over here node Chronos. Again, this is why we can't just look at the solar arc sun. The node Chronos to the Mercury and over here to the Jupiter would be indicative of law.
Mm.
This coming over here, well, this is probably why you're creating good karma. Do you work for a law firm or for the government?
The government.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to get too far into this, but this would be problems with your work soon. Difficulties, prosecution. Oh, okay. Well, that's why. So it's difficult situations because if you're in prosecution, it's involving criminals. So that's what that would be. What is it that you most want to know?
She wants to basically understand whether she should keep the business and or just because she loves the as she says, she loves law, she loves her job, current one, but she doesn't know what to do with the business side and also her house. But what I saw
Here's the
was
ter- here's
Uranus.
yeah, here's the travel right here. So this would actually be something. Do you see this? Here's her travel
Yeah.
agency. There's Jupiter. Here's the Admito. This would have been the commercial enterprise, the business, the clients, whatever, a couple of years ago. So this has probably started to slow down. Her problem is she's not suited for this. You're talking about keeping a business that I guess she did not work in this much with her mother, did she?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
She did not work in this much with her mother, did she?
No, her mother passed away and she inherited the business.
Do you see her son Neptune? You're right. She doesn't know what to do with it. If you don't know what to do with something, you hire someone. Is the business solvent? It seems like it could be solvent, but this is limiting your business right now. Nobody's really working it.
Yeah, she's just hired a lady, but she's very raw in her knowledge and
Inga, you have Moon Admetos right here. You also have Capito right here. This could actually be an opportunity for you. I don't remember where your Saturn, Uranus, Jupiter stuff is because that would be indicative of a travel agency. It wouldn't be bad for you to be. I mean, yeah, you learn to do it. No, not law. You can't handle law and a business. Okay? You you can't be like the local government prosecutor and you have a travel agency. Okay, life just doesn't. it's not. It's not. It's not you. It's life. Okay.
but one thing I looked when I looked at her chart, the Saturn Uranus,
Uh huh.
um, that is,
Traveling.
hold on, but that's so it's sudden separation, parting, and death, inflexibility, and that falls onto her Jupiter, which is sudden separation from happiness, sudden losses of money or real estate.
Okay.
And that falls, I think, on Jupiter in
No. No.
all.
No. 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 See, you're trying to break things apart instead of looking at her whole chart. If
Okay.
when you break things apart, this is how you break them apart, like this. See? This is how they're organized. These are the respective stories. Not things that are falling in different ways or different areas. What's happening up here, and don't forget to give some levity to the rules. Saturn and Uranus has to do with separation, no doubt. The separation from money is if it's costing, if she's working a business, she's making the money. If she's hiring someone, she's separating from money. If she's going to sell the business, she's separating from money. This is a concern for her, this business. This is not a quick answer or a quick question. We would have to spend a little bit of time working on this. But if you're really going to look at this, it's Jupiter and Apollon are working together. So Jupiter and Apollon with Volcanus, this combination, which they're together, it's not a standalone. That's business and enterprise, and that's coming in this direction. Okay, this is moving in this direction. She has had business losses. She just lost. The reason she has a business and she has this business struggle, what happened? Her mother died, right? So there's always
Yeah.
already the parting and the death out in the world, and now what is this business? It's a travel agency. Doesn't a travel agency put you out in the world? Isn't a travel agency a commercial enterprise?
Yeah.
One that you work
Yeah.
out in the world? Okay.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
You see why we don't take things apart the wrong way? This is
Yes. Yeah.
this is very important to keep these things. So she's confused. She doesn't know what to do because the boss, Sun Kronos, the mother, is gone. She's talking to people. She has to find somebody. This is a responsibility of hers. She has to put someone in this place out in the world.
All right. Okay. I understand.
Your moon in Mitos sits there. You should look and see whether or not you have any kind of travel agency or travel work that might work for you. In fact, you and I We're looking at your chart a week or two ago and talking about a friend of yours giving you an opportunity, and you said a friend of yours was getting you an interview. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Maybe this
but
is
that was a different thing.
right. Maybe this is the friend and the opportunity. Your moon in Mitos would speak to putting you out in the world in this. How would you end up in this way? Because she lost her mother. Moon in Mitos is death of the mother. So here's the death of the mother, moon in Mitos, out in the world. This issue, this travel agency, is represented by Saturn, Uranus, Jupiter, Apollon with Volcanus. This is the commercial end of it. This is the corporation. And well, this right now, this is us using propaganda, using the TV, the internet, whatever, out in the world to discuss this.
I would be probably very hesitant to go to work with her because she's my best friend and I wouldn't risk.
You wouldn't be working with her. You would be doing her a favor and she would be doing you a favor. You would be running a travel agency that she doesn't have someone running. You need a job. You should see
Yeah,
between your charts whether or not this is workable. I can tell you
yeah,
from
I
knowing
do.
I can tell you from already knowing your chart there are certain shared access points here that would indicate it might be something that's a good idea. See, when we start thinking we know better than the charts, this is where we get in trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
When we start thinking that we have a better idea than what the chart is, and I was talking to somebody the other day and trying to explain to them, you know how when you're reading a chart and you see, or you're reading like the definition, so you're going through the rule book and you're reading the definitions, and in all of the different formulas, there's a positive and a negative. For the most part, in out of almost 5,000 formulas, very rarely is something positive or negative. It's always both, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we're looking at these formula books, potentially what we're looking at when we're looking at the positive side is this is what God has in mind for you. He has this idea. But we have our own ideas, and it takes us a while to perfect our lessons in life and to learn what it is we learn, which is why we die and we come back and we die and we come back and we die and we come back, and it keeps recycling. So the positive side of your chart is what God would have for you. The negative side of our chart is the human condition. So the positive side is the divine construct, and the negative side is the human construct. What's it going to be? When we talk about free will and a chart, we're really talking about, is it my way or is it his way?
Yeah.
When we throw our man-made construct into everything without surrender to divine construct and examination of divine construct first and foremost, we have problems. Looking at her chart right here, Uranus and Mitos indicates a collapse. This right here indicates that if there's a collapse of this is a collapse of what had been a viable business. Was this a good business?
Yeah, if as I understand from her, if you're really working with it, then you can make it prosperous and
Okay. So
having
this
a good
this
money come
this
in.
this would have been a business that started to collapse and show strain about a year and a half ago.
That's correct, yeah.
And now
Just
she's
when COVID hit.
yeah, and now she's trying to figure out what's going on and what to do. Obviously, her mother's no longer with her, so the person who's running this. So in 2020, about 3 years ago, almost a little longer than that, then bring all this all the way back over here. So that was the change, or coming in here. Let's see, move this back. One, two, three. Yep.
Yeah, just there, yeah.
And see where this would be sitting up here? This Saturn Uranus is indicative of this travel agency. Saturn Uranus, that grass widower, it's just traveling. People who travel. I got to tell you something. We're gonna have to spend some time in your chart. I wouldn't be so quick to answer this. This is your career trajectory. Assuming this is your exact time of birth, your career trajectory sits on this problem, which would indicate that you would give up the law and go towards this. And I don't think that's what's going to happen. We should, yeah, see, this is, nobody was murdered, but this was definitely, well, yeah, people were murdered, COVID. Okay, but this is always indicative of something from the past and things of a long duration, responsibilities, just really, being stuck.
Well, actually, it was quite interesting the way how it all happened because she was with me in England. We both left Latvia to go there. And her mother's death was very unpredictable. It happened so quickly, and she had to move. So she had to leave all her life in UK and come here and take over the business, which she absolutely didn't know anything of it. So she had really difficult and hard time to learn, all the business side. And when she mastered it, she went on to the law, and she kind of understands that that's her inheritance, that's her mother's legacy, and if she works there she can make money of it. But
Not
at the
for
same
her.
time, I think she finds the pleasure
It's not her.
doing law.
Okay, let me see if I can put this to you the way it is in your chart and how you would actually read this. This travel agency is wrecking your plans. That's what the wrecking and the destruction is. It's wrecking your plans out in the world. The travel agency, Moon, Saturn, and the death of your mother, and this business. I'm looking at this.
Yes, because it falls on Hades, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Well, I'm looking at this right here though, and this is, there are vocational tones to this. It's commercial. But the Hades indicates that it's, that's where it's things that come to us by way of karma, or historically they're not really there. So we come over here though, and this is where all of her confusion is, because this is where she starts out. This is what, life is going to guarantee her, this inheritance, this thing right here. But we come over here and we get to this part. So she's like finding love. And obviously loving the law, loving the problems, loving all of that stuff. The business conflicts, the travel agency business conflicts with her need to have something that requires thought. What she loves about the law is how it makes her think. It gives her all this room to think. She has to think. She's thinking all the time anyway. It's a perfect outlet for an active mind.
Yeah.
Law is a great outlet for a very active mind. She is torn. Now, we come back here and we pop your chart up and we bring your chart up, Inga, and we're going to see certain factors right here that would make this fit very nicely for you. You're sociable. You like people. You need a job. We should look and see if this is really why this is happening, is that this is designed in the timing of it all. You coming back to Latvia? Again, there's man-made construct and there's divine construct. You're going to have to ask yourself, you need to look at these charts and you need to look at what the divine construct would be and what the man-made construct would be, and to govern yourselves accordingly. This is the term she's familiar with because she works in law.
Yeah, how interesting.
You should pop your chart up. Like from what
Yeah,
I
I'll
read,
actually do the. I've never done the synastry with her.
yeah, what I
Yeah, I'll do it
recall,
with her.
of your chart would indicate to me, just looking at her chart right now and thinking about your chart, it's like, wow. And I said something to you about a friend of yours helping you.
Yeah,
You
it did
said to me,
happen. Yeah, I remember.
you said to me, I have a friend who's going to get an interview. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't jump out and go, yeah, that's it. I was like, well, okay. And I repeated it a couple of times. I was like, I feel like a friend is going to help you. There's a friend of yours. There's something there for you. This is good. I must have said to you 3 or 4 times, I see this as a good thing. There's something there for you. A friend is going to help you. Everything's going to fall in place. By the way, you have the moon in Mitos. You have the Saturn. I think you have Mercury down there, if I recall.
I think my Mercury is somewhere where her Mercury is, around that place. Kronos, Mercury, there. Yeah.
Well, Kronos Mercury would be to discuss legal matters and business, or to talk to somebody in law. You'll never get into law. Law is not for you.
Oh no,
Yeah,
no,
no, law is not for
not
you.
at all.
Yeah. Law isn't for 90% of the people who get into it, but they're in too deep by the time they find out. Good on your friend. Listen, very few people are really cut out for it. And that you love it, good for you. You stay in that and you do a
Yeah.
good job. everybody else everybody else in your field is like five martinis in. Yeah, see, she likes the thinking part of law. She likes the research, the digging information up, the finding facts, which also this could, if we give the wider orb to the meridian, this is too another reason why we always have to rectify the charts. We really need to know that her time is right. But
Hmm.
here's the moon, Saturn, the Uranus and Mythos. This is like a standout thing. So something she's known in the world. This business must be known in Riga.
Yeah, it's been there for years.
Okay.
This is why she's quite reluctant to close it, because if she shuts it down, there's no way back. But it has a reputation already. So,
I really feel like there's a good possibility that the solution to both of your problems may be each other right now. 22 years. And listen, you know her, right? How do we pronounce her name? Ilona?
Ilona, yeah.
Ilona. Ilona. So you know Inga for a long time?
Yeah, since we were teenagers.
So you know that she's been looking for what to do with herself for 22 years. She's running around in circles. give give her
Well, that
give
is
her
the
give her a
opposite.
job. Give her a job, Ilona. Okay? Could you please? Actually, a job like this, your kids could stop into work. They cannot stop into work when you're dealing with dying patients. She's like, I've been a mess my whole life. Actually, you should really, you know what? Tomorrow morning, because it's going to be too late after the show. Tomorrow morning, I'll probably be around. You guys Alona, we'll get you on Discord, okay? Let Inga try to set you up and get you on Discord. And tomorrow morning, we'll look at these charts and see whether or not you should do this. I got a feeling about this. I mean, I'm not going to confirm it, but from what I recollect of your chart and looking at her chart, and this is the thing about, um, and Raji had asked this. Raji was asking about, can we show, uh, what do you call it? The kaleidoscope experience. So like how the two of you would fit together, where you have this problem, okay, and where the synastry lines up. She has this problem and you have this problem. And if you look, the Uranus and Mythos could definitely speak to the fact that you are rebuilding your life from the bottom up again. Hi, Orion. So that's a thing. There's a lot here. We should meet tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning your time. Well, tomorrow morning my time. Later in the afternoon for you guys, and go over the two
Yeah,
charts and see what's going on. But like, look,
yeah,
this could speak to you rebuilding your entire life again. It keeps the business active. It gives you a job. You're working with a friend. If something happens with the boys, either one of the boys can come to a travel agency. They cannot come to a nursing home where people are sick and dying. So,
yeah.
okay.
We'll yeah, we'll need to look at the
Yeah. We'll look at all the charts.
Sinistry and
Yeah,
everything.
we'll look at the synastry. But this is interesting too because this could play to what's going on in your life. I'm not going to get into too much of the intimate details. Your son just had surgery. He was sick. There's lots of stuff in here. There, there's there is a lot of repetition of patterns in your chart and her chart. And do you remember?
Yeah, inspire.
Yeah, do you remember several months ago, last year, we were doing the chart of that woman, and we were focused on the moon and Mitos, and I was showing you how you and her share that experience, and in that particular case, it was sick children. And very
Yes,
shortly
I
after that,
remember.
your son was diagnosed as being sick. So at the
Yeah.
time where you were focused on this woman and her sickness, her son's sickness, you didn't have a sick son, but that truth lived out in the chart anyway.
Yes,
Here
I
you are.
remember.
So if we're looking at these two charts speak to, two lives that are completely upended, yours and hers, in different ways, though. And the moon and Mitos can absolutely put the two of you back together and you in a room working. I'll go over this with you gals tomorrow, okay?
Okay, thank you, Anna.
No,
Thank
you're
you very
welcome.
much.
Thank you, Ilona, for letting us do your chart, and I hope you join us on Discord tomorrow that Inga helps get you straightened out. Interesting point. Christina's here. She asked me something, and let's see. Here, I'm going to show you guys something about repetitions of patterns. Christina, did you notice that you have this in your chart and you share this with your husband? By the way, this is an aspect I have. These are the planets of my Yud. So you have Saturn, Uranus, down here to Mercury. That's his chart. And then yours. Here's Saturn, Uranus to Mercury. That's a chart marker. Do you guys understand that? Within a shared degree, you have this is the repetition of patterns in the same planetary energy. So we go a degree or two. We're always, well, this is kind of speaking like this. For her, hers is here, or his is here, hers is here, and then they share this point. That you both have this Mercury, Saturn, Uranus, that I have it, that it's something in your friend's chart. First of all, the Mercury Saturn combination is serious thoughts and thinking, sometimes depressed thinking, deep thinking, thinking about a matter for a long period of time. Mercury to Uranus can be genius ideas, instant ideas, quick thinking. Saturn Uranus is absolutely traveling. It's interesting to me that you have something like this in your chart. Well, and that this is brought up. Do you see this sort of energy? Today's a combination of Saturn Uranus explanations and energy, and we all have different lives. But Mercury, Saturn, and Uranus are personal to him. So in his case, he separates from a lot of people. He knows people, he works with them, He has a period of time with them and then he separates from them. And look, the answer to your question, he is going to take that and stay next year. Okay, that's going to be a thing of a long duration. You see that Saturn lining up the way I said? But see this? This is where he's always going to be saying goodbye to people. That's just the nature of what he does. He knows them for a short time, and then he says goodbye to them. And then you have it like this, right here. And your relationship to Mercury, Saturn, Uranus, depressed thinking, thinking about things for a long time, this for you falls right where dealing with loved ones and talking, communications on the computer out in the world and talking about loved ones. That's all out in the world. So you have that same energy, but you're demonstrating it different. And in your case, because of the Poseidon, in his case, he's saying goodbye to people all the time. In your case, okay, you're saying goodbye to people all the time, and it's the same reason. It's school, it's educations, and it's lessons. Only for you, it points on this side, okay, and for him, it's there. By the way, this would speak to when you lost your mother and the difficulties when your mom passed away. That his Mercury, Saturn, Uranus, his depression, his difficulties, his thinking over the loss of your mom, because Saturn to the moon. Also a depressed woman or a separation from a woman. So we never even noticed that in the times that we had looked at your chart. This is another reason why you need to stay looking in your chart and looking at vents. You should go back to the day your mom passed away and set up your husband's chart and set up your chart and look at where transiting Mercury Uranus, transiting Mercury Saturn and Venus Saturn, Saturn Uranus, all these combinations, Saturn Poseidon for both of you. The node over here, you should set up both charts the exact same time and place when you lost your mom and do those. You haven't spent, definitely have not spent enough time there. And look, the Neptune here, there's like all this confusion because of this too. Did you ever notice that you and your husband shared those planets together? That, what they call that chart marker? I have it in a different place. We don't share an access point, but we have a common chart marker. When you have a common chart marker, like people that have Sun Hades or Sun equals Admetos or Mars Zeus, when you have common chart markers, things that are standouts in your chart, Sun Poseidon, Moon Poseidon, these things speak to a shared interest, shared experience, shared karma, shared covenant. Okay? It's you don't necessarily, and this is the part of always working with your own charts. Energy is everything. We're not all having the exact same experience at the exact same time. Even if two people are married when they're having children, one woman is in labor, the other one is watching it. So while you're both having a baby, your experience at that same moment is different. Even if you're getting married, you're working together, your experiences are different. When you have a common chart marker, like I have Mercury, Saturn, Uranus, it's a standout chart marker in my chart. For me, it speaks to the astrology. You have to look at the twins. Twins can be very close, I mean, identical in personality, in marriages. We've seen this a lot. Where's the meridian? And how are the twins demonstrating the energy? I know a set of twins where, and they were born at exactly the same time because they were born uh, by C-section. So when they have a team in the United States, when they have a team of doctors for a C-section, a planned C-section, they have the two teams for the babies. So both of these babies were born at exactly the same time, a boy and a girl. The girl is thriving and just really living her best life, and her brother accidentally overdosed and died a few years ago. And I could see the problem in the boy's chart. I did not see a problem like that in the girl's chart, but I could definitely see that the boy was going to have an issue. You always have to look. And you have to talk to the individuals, because how are the people demonstrating the energy? This goes back to the lecture at the beginning. You know, there's a divine construct in our chart, and there is a man-made construct. All of us are going to operate at whatever level we're going to operate out of. Okay? I believe for the most part, many of us are trying to really do the right thing. And I don't think that all of us approach everything from like the worst, most manipulative, underhanded message. Yes, seconds matter. Seconds absolutely matter. But the native matters, the construct of the soul, and whether or not they're demonstrating the higher vibration, the more divine nature, or the more man-made construct. You have to look at the chart. Do you see what you're doing? How would the charts be different if they were born the same minute? The first thing you have to do is look at those two charts. You cannot answer that question as an across-the-board question. What if the minute that they were born, the meridian was on Neptune? It could be very difficult to determine what the hell's going on with them. What if the meridian's on Apollon? Where is it? What else is with it? The meridian represents the minute. The ascendant moves 2 degrees every 4 minutes. The meridian moves 1 degree every 4 minutes. So seconds matter. The slow-moving planets are the kickers in astrology, and understanding where those slow-moving planets are and how they apply to the meridian and in a triple pattern. And again, who are we talking about? You know, talking to the individual and the subject is so key. Is that person positive, uplifted? Does this person, healthy, have a spiritual discipline, work out, eat well? Are we talking about somebody suffering depression? You can take twins and they can be the same or different. So when you're looking at a chart, understanding the nuances, is this person demonstrating positively or negatively? And the studies of twins that needs to be done hasn't been done yet as far as astrology. People are not different? You've never had somebody who's got a chart identical to your own? You don't have different choices? You're a different soul? You were raised different parents? Two people in one household with the same parents can have a different experience or a different impression of the same situation, even if they're born at the same time. Yeah, the set that I had, they were fraternal twins and they were born absolutely at the same exact time. They pulled them out of the womb at the same time. They cut the umbilical cords at the same time. And I know because these are medical people that were involved in this. Charts, correct, because it's two different charts. They're two different people. If you have twins, you still have two different people. You have the same parents, obviously, you're siblings to each other, but you're still two different people. You still have your own free will and your own choices and your own lives to live. Occasionally, you see a set of twins where they like marry another set of twins, they have babies around the same time. Those twins need to be studied. But it's also, how are those people living their lives? I also knew a set of twins, identical. The guy lived next door to me. He had dreads, uh, light eyes, super, super light eyes, tall, thin, lanky, lanky guy, interesting looking. Like he had like these interesting dreads, and he had his eyes were just like so light, this like bright green eyes popping out with this tawny skin and these dreads. And one morning, I'm in my shower and I hear like running across my roof, boom, 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 just running. I was like, wow, that's crazy. And I get out of the shower and I hear like all this commotion still across the roof and outside, and it's just loud. And I go and I open up my door and I see a full out SWAT team, and they're raiding the house next door to me. They're telling, get inside, ma'am. They wouldn't let anybody take their kids to school. Nobody could go to work. Everybody, get back in your house. Get back in your house. Get back in your house. And we are living in like a suburban, upscale neighborhood in Miami. this this is not happening in the hood. This is happening in a very upscale suburban neighborhood, community in Miami. And um, I'm a little surprised because he's the most mellow guy, and I always see him with his kids, taking his kids to school, bringing his kids back from school, taking them to different events and games, doing homework, just playing with his kids, always with his kids, at work and with his kids, at work and with his kids. As it turned out, his brother had murdered, his identical twin brother had murdered someone, which gave him the same DNA. So they had the same actual DNA. And like this guy was an honest to God, dedicated family man. His brother, his identical twin brother, was a murdering criminal who ended up dying of AIDS, who died actually before they could arrest him for this murder. He died of AIDS. And they were identical twins. So he gets arrested for a murder that his brother had committed, and then there was this whole big hoopla getting him off, which he was able to get off. But yeah, he didn't do it. So the positive and the negative, the divine construct versus the man-made construct. Yeah, the meridian is important, and the ascendant. The meridian ascendant midpoint tells you who you are and where you're going at every moment. It's more important than the sun. So when you're looking at a meridian ascendant midpoint and you're looking at a meridian, what you're really looking at is you're looking at where this person is going. What's their inner soul nature? Where are they headed? Now, I'd like to think that all of us have changed in some positive way in life and that we were maybe a lesser person some years ago and that we can recognize that this is possible. Well, it's also possible between two twins. One of them can be living the more negative side of their chart, and the other one can be living the more positive side of their chart. That's a given. There shouldn't be any confusion about that. The free will is how we choose. The native, that's why the meridian is the essence of your soul. So how are we choosing and where is that meridian? Here, let me give you an example of what's going on too with the meridian. So this is where the meridian is when somebody's born. As this meridian moves throughout the chart, when this meridian contacts this, where they're going, what this native is interested in is going to be more focused on enterprise and business in their environment. When the meridian catches over here, this is going to be work. The meridian comes over here, they're going to be more focused on separation. The meridian gets down here, it's going to be love. Their focus is going to be on love and generosity. Yeah. There is free will. Free will is, see, this is what people do not want to understand. The free will is us enacting our lives, how we are demonstrating these planets here. Every time you choose to not forgive someone, or you choose to cut corners, or you choose to be a lesser person in an exchange with a person, or you choose to be the better person or the bigger person, you're demonstrating free will. Okay? Free will is when you're looking at a chart, free will is here's the path ahead. How are you going to play the cards in your hand? Are you going to jump up and throw the table over and ruin the game for everybody? Are you going to be loud and boisterous? Are you going to be mean and nasty? Are you going to be pleasant? Are you going to be gracious? Are you going to fight when you have to fight? Are you going to withdraw when you have to withdraw? Are you going to be tender when you should be tender? And stern when you should be stern? Are you going to understand when to implement which emotion? This is all part of the human condition and learning. The man-made construct part of the chart is the error part. We are always trying to get to it, at some point, get it right. The meridian is the soul, the essence of the soul and where you're going. How are you trying to get this right? So what are you working on at one moment? Like this, this is creative or athletic. Okay? So these two things move in concert with each other at a degree apart. Anything that's on the meridian is going to tell you all of the goals of this native. This is where the native is going. But this is also the native soul. When you look at the meridian, you're looking at the essence of your soul. What's really going on? What are you striving for? Just because we're striving for something doesn't mean we make it. We try. It's the evolution of our soul. So as the meridian, like every other planet, is moving around a chart, whatever it's coming in contact with, and whatever story, whatever else is with it, see? Whatever else is with it, traveling all the time. So these are traveling all the time. This is the essence of this person. This is this native's challenges all the time. These things are constantly working with each other. There are positives and negatives in every one of these, half sums. Some days this individual is living out the best or the most positive vibration and nature of these half thumbs. Some days they're demonstrating the lesser part of that. If you have a set of twins, they're doing the same thing. Some days they're living the best part, some days they're living the worst part. But they're living the best and the worst of a series of things. It's never one thing. Right, a meridian Saturn can be deep thoughts or spending a long period of time thinking, spending an entire day in deep thought and meditation. It's not always depressive thoughts. Mercury Saturn would be depressing thoughts. Meridian Saturn would be a separation. You guys got to use that rule book. A lot of people start saying half thumbs like they know what they are. Check the rule book, check the rule book, check the rule book. A meridian Saturn is a personal separation or potentially a job. And Mercury Saturn can be depressing thoughts, sad thoughts, or thinking very, deep thoughts, deep thinking. So when you're looking at a set of twins, you're looking. This is why we have to always look at the whole chart, and this is why that sun sign astrology and singular houses and the way that they break things down. It Nothing could be more indicative of how flawed that would be than to look at twins, because there are instances in twins where twins live almost an identical life, and there are instances in twins where their lives are quite different. And the only way that that could be explained or proven would be an element of free will, particularly when it comes to twins. If they're born of the same parents, they go home to the same environment, they're born at exactly the same time. If they're not fraternal, if they're identical, and they lead two completely different lives, like my neighbor who got arrested for a murder his brother committed while he was just a stand-up guy, always with his kids, that happens. Yeah, Mercury, Saturn could be problems with speech or communication. Limited. Well, I think we do choose our challenges. Remember something. We take this on. This is our job. Yeah, it's a separation or a dejection. Remember that, you know, your chart. Let's talk about what we can do, what we can use astrology for in terms of helping our lives. When you see a particular aspect or have some or something in your life, for example, if you see fame, I know somebody who this was their logic. It's like, oh, you saw fame in my chart. That means I just have to sit here and wait for it. Yeah, you might end up being famous for some sort of problem that began with just sitting and waiting for it. Okay. Um, your chart is a blueprint. It's like a map. So you have to kind of see this. If it's a map and you're driving, it's a destination. Assume it's you're driving. It's a destination. How you see the destinations that you come to, how you experience them, it's your choice. Like some people go to the Grand Canyon and they hike, or they go to Pikes Peak and they hike and they hike it and they enjoy it, and they bring water and they sit and take pictures and they lay down forever and just look at the stars, and they don't ever want to go back down the mountain or up or down a canyon. They're just wildly into nature. You take other people, it's like, okay, saw it, let's go. It's hot out here, or it's cold out here. We all approach things in our own way. How we express gratitude. Yeah, they could be famous for just being a bum. Like you really need to understand that the positive and the negative vibrational demonstration is up to the native. That's the free will. When we look at the rule book, here, let's do this. Here, I had to open this up. Sorry, guys. I didn't have this open. I needed to open this up. Okay. When we come through this rule book, a lot of times we're looking, see, many feel deceived, cheated out of their future, misled masses, mistrust. This is obviously just negative. Moon Apollon. So Moon Apollon to Neptune is just negative. Now, this is negative and positive, or neither, if you examine it. What is the native doing? What about this? When we look at this, separate from many, to quit an educational project, separation of nations. What if this is attached to a half sum or a midpoint where they're separating to go work or develop something? See, if we start going through here, some of these are like, well, there's not a lot of room for movement or change here. But if you keep going through all of these, you start realizing, you know what? Which one is this? What does this mean? In the case of twins, because that's what we're talking about, in the case of different charts, it means whatever's different there. But in the case of twins, how is that individual going to demonstrate all of the things on an axis point? And where the meridian is involved, the meridian becomes the linchpin. Because look here, this would indicate a spiritual individual. This is Sun, and it's to their meridian. So this is someone who pursues spiritual matters. Now, say we come over here. Do we see the Sun Pluto here? There's that. What about this? What if Hades was over here? What if something else? You have to factor in every single one of these things. The telling of a story by way of one thing is where you get into a problem. When you lay all of the half sums out and you start putting them together, that's where you realize it's like, okay, so this could go either way. But you need to get a picture of what's the story. So if it goes in a positive way, this is the story. If this thing is going to go south on you and become a problem, what's the story in that way? That's how you would read this in terms of twins. You lay out the entire access point. One thing is not going to do it. As a matter of fact, this is why astrologers are so lost. You're basically cherry picking certain things, and it's a little bit of a problem. And one of the reasons it's a little bit of a problem is when you're cherry picking aspects, you're missing out on important elements of what that individual is going through, what their experience is. Like if you're talking to somebody about what they're thinking, likely there's some feeling associated with it. So when we're talking in astrology about a thought, why are we disconnecting that thought to an emotion? Or does that thought, is that thought the result of an action? Is that thought part of a plan? Is that thought an idea? Well, no. Neptune. It's not the same aspects. It's Neptune. Neptune can apply to people, Neptune Hades can be metaphysical, or it can apply to people that are, drug addicts. Again, how is the native demonstrating? Do you guys understand that? You have to talk. I cannot begin to tell you how important it is to spend a little time. Don't try to extrapolate things from them. If they're coming to you and they want answers, you should be able to give them answers. But remember, an astrology reading is not a psychic reading. They have to come to you, tell you very specifically what it is that they're looking for or at, and then you as an astrologer go and look at it. But you have to look at the big picture. You always have to look at the big picture. Who is that person? What are they doing? Talk to that individual. You can talk to somebody and tell very quickly in a conversation that that person is not a spiritually evolved individual, that they're angry, or they're they're vengeful. So you have to speak to them and get to know what they are. They can be. A doctor and a patient, particularly long term, they would have to share an access point. Like if you have a doctor for a long period of time, that's a relationship, and you would share the access point of health issues. So you would have the same half sum on the same access point dealing with your health issues. That's what would bring you together. Likely, if you're very unhealthy and you have a lot of, you know, actual problems, Mars, Neptune, Hades would line up yours and your doctor's at the same time. Do you know what's a better way to answer this question, though? You take a murderer who uses a knife, a butcher, and a surgeon would have similar half sums. Cops and criminals have similar half sums. Government officials, every single one of them has fraud stuff in their chart. Leadership and fraud. That's the positive and the negative. It has to look, a murderer and a victim. One of the reasons we have this set up is come here, everybody, use the app. Use the software. Let's everybody examine the same chart. Why should people be held back by software differences, formula differences? Here's the rule book. I didn't make up the rule book. The Germans did. I'm working with an English translation, and I'm trying to go through the original German and undo that with some German speakers, native German speakers. But here's the rule book. Here's the software. Let's prove or disprove the astrology already. You got a murderer and the victim's birth information? Bring it here. Let's examine it. We need the times, by the way, times and dates. Those are important. You have a doctor and a patient, the surgeon, and the person who the surgery is going to be performed. How about an officer arresting someone? What about the FBI agents who killed Bonnie and Clyde? Doing Bonnie and Clyde's chart with theirs. Like when you have things that bring people together. Synastry and marriage, you see what people come together. They come together, they're married, she's the wife, he's the husband, or they're in a partnership and they're married, they have, shared sex planets. Okay, you see what that is. But we have many relationships with people. We have business partnerships, we have friendships. When you have a shared, not access point, but a chart marker, chances are you know each other because you're there to learn something. That's one of your karmic lessons or experiences. And the ways that we learn things, by the way, and this is very true for all of us, and we see this. We will see our friends make the same mistake over and over and over again, and we don't understand why they do that. And then eventually they learn. Fact is, we do the same thing. We just don't get it until much later in life. They're watching us make the same mistakes over and over again in other areas as well, sometimes in the same type of area. And finally, one day we learn our lesson by something that we watched occur with them, or something that they did or said or happened, a light goes off for us, or vice versa. That's part of the human connection and experience. When people gather and they talk about spirituality and growth, coming from a dark place into the light, coming out of the light, going into the darkness, having difficulties, having challenges, having had money, then no money, having had no money and then a lot of money, getting a job that they really wanted, or a career that they really wanted, or a business off the ground. These connections that you have with people in the periods in time that these things occur, they're very discernible in your chart. That's what we're here to do. We want to prove out every bit of this astrology. And where we can't prove it out and where it's vague and fuzzy, we want to clean it up and sharpen it. And everybody who comes together for the purpose of doing, whether it's astrology work, or if you hike together, or you teach together, or you do crafts together, you have some shared lesson. Now, when you're doing something like astrological work or research and metaphysical work, you have pronounced metaphysical lessons because you're already coming together, and that's the foundation. The question is, are you spending your time and your energy in those practices and in those lessons in that place of light of unfolding that work and focusing on the work? That's a very, very important thing, to be serious, committed, and dedicated to focusing on the work and to unfolding it in the right way. We have to be very detail-oriented and very organized, and we'll find that those groups of people that we grow with or that we tend, to bond together with, where we're unfolding things, you're going to find that you're going to mix and match with the people that share your value system at that time. Okay? That's why you end up changing friends and groups and things like that in life. When you grow, when your spirituality grows, when you're evolving your chart, when you're actively evolving your chart and you're in pursuit of making sure that you're working on becoming a better person, a lot of times you end up having to leave other people behind. The groups of friends and the people you're around changes because it's an energy field change. So you bring in these other people in your life, or you attract other people. And you know that when you're sitting at a table and people are working on a project and they're talking about spirituality and why we're here and what we're all meant to do and doing our part, that those conversations and that those groups are incredibly inspirational. They're energizing. We walk away from those experiences and those gatherings feeling energized. And that's the thing that's going to draw us back constantly. Like when something makes us feel good and we feel like we're on our path and this is positive, you're going to be drawn back to those same groups. If you're a productive individual, you're going to be drawn back. Like, groups, they sit around and they gossip about people, or they're just mean, or guys who run around the streets and they rob people. Okay, or people who go to the gym, and they work out together. These are all groups of people with common shared interests. But when you have a common shared interest to evolve your souls, I guarantee you that you will go through different experiences. You will find yourself changing groups of friends, changing groups of people, feeling differently about things, changing the books you read, changing the TV shows you watch, the music you listen to, who you talk to. When you are evolving, it's like a snake molting. You're shedding your skin. You might be the same underneath. I'm not saying you're a snake. I'm just saying, you change. Your skin changes. Everything changes. You're different. I used to love crime shows. I can't watch any of them. I used to love war movies. I can't watch them anymore. Not even for a second. I used to love the news. I can't watch any news. I actually have a visceral response to certain things. I can't see them anymore. I became a vegan because the idea, I started seeing like all the animal farming. I was like, oh my God, I can't be part of that. Just the idea of that. And not that I'm not out here telling everybody they have to do the same thing. I'm just saying that simply knowing that, I have this visceral, I can't do that. You start changing. I can't listen to trap music. I can't listen to I I listen to spiritual music. I can't have there are certain conversations I just can't have anymore. There are people who will start a conversation with me about something. I'll be, I can't even talk. No, I cannot talk to you about that. We're not going to talk about that because it's going to upset me, and I can't deal with it. And yes, I am at that point where it's like, look, I don't want to be upset or agitated or frustrated. I want to, whatever energy I have, I want to spend my time and my energy working on developing astrology and working with other people where we're just trying to be the best person we can be, each of us, and trying to leave the world a little bit better than the way we got it, and leave whatever we touch, astrology, whatever it is, people. I don't think that our lives here are so random and meaningless. There has to be a purpose. I think uniting with people and, you know, being able to prove astrology proves one thing. It proves that somewhere there was a language, a divine language, that was designed by the gods and its planets. This also speaks to the Judeo-Christian and the Muslim religions actively suppressing astrology for years. And then, of course, when everybody got a hold of it, now it's just a hot mess. But the control. And just like I wrote in my blog last week, the Zoroastrians, Arabic parts was designed as a language of science. I get that it came from astrology, but they were using the planets to create a language. That language, these planets had a word, so it was a language of science. It was designed by science. That's where Vitae got the rule book, and the whole concept of the rule book was Arabic parts. All right. Does anybody else have any questions? Yes, darling. What can we do for you, Ginger? Would you like me to jump in the classroom so you can talk to me? Would that be better? I could do that. Where are you? Are you in the classroom? Yeah, here, let me jump in the classroom and go talk to you. Okay, I'm in the classroom. I'm in voice and video in the classroom. Oh, Inga's work on Facebook. Okay, that's a really good question. That's right, I did say that I was going to go over that, and I completely forgot to input that chart. Okay. So Inga's son had surgery. We did this. You see, this is about a degree or so away. So here's the surgery. So it's Mars Uranus. So this is the natal solar arc and transit of Mars Uranus, and this is right about here. So this is what you call a triple pattern. We use that 1 degree orb because they line up. So the Mars Uranus agrees. Here's the surgery. The second of these pictures where you got confused, right there. There it is. Okay. Let's go back. All right. The second picture right here. So the Mars Uranus is over here. Here's the triple pattern. This is what we mean when we say there's multiple triple patterns. So when you see the successful surgery is Mars Uranus equals Mercury. Mercury has to line up in its own triple pattern, which it does. Here's the natal Mercury. Here's the solar arc Mercury. Here's the transiting Mercury, but it lines right up to here, to Jupiter. And when we come right down here, do you see where the line is? The line, it matches symmetrically because Uranus is part of the issue. Uranus is the surgical end of this, Mars to Uranus. So it's still pardon?
Yeah. But what I got confused. Oh, I see. It touches Uranus there. Okay, never mind.
It's Mars. It's the directed. Listen, Mars and Uranus already agree. The Mars-Uranus half-sum already agrees and shares its own midpoint. So that's the surgery. That's the cut to the body. The Mercury has to equal the Uranus, okay, or the Mercury has to equal the Jupiter for it to be successful. But in order for us to call this a symmetrical pattern, because it's not a dead-on midpoint, one of those planets or some of those planets that create this, which is the Mars-Uranus, has to be in play. So here's the Uranus, there's the Mars. This is a solid triple pattern. Everything in the triple pattern is about the energy. When Nice and I tell you that whenever there is an event in your life, there's multiple triple patterns. Sometimes the triple pattern lines up where the third planet lines up on the axis point of the half sum. Other times the third planet lines up by itself. There are multiple ways of a triple pattern. The problem with a lot of people is they took a 12-week course and they're off and running trying to act like they're a master, and they're not. Get back to your charts. Stay in your charts. Look for all of the events. We asked you to find one triple pattern in the events for your homework. We've told you there would be many. That's why we keep sending you back to your charts. All of this jumping to other people's charts isn't teaching you anything. It's confusing you. You should go back to your marriages. Go back to you. You will not believe how many times you can look at your chart until you've mastered your chart and see something that you've never seen before. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I missed that.
So that transit is not Jupiter, Mercury, right? It looks a little bit off if it was to line up.
No,
with,
you're not understanding. Mercury,
no, I saw that part.
Yeah, Mercury and Jupiter natally line up. But it's Mars Uranus is the surgery lining up to Mercury is the beneficial surgery. Like the surgery is lucky. Jupiter makes it the benefit. So the Mercury lines up to the natal Jupiter. Are you following? How that Mercury is lining up to the natal Jupiter?
I have both of them on my screen. I could see what they look like. I could see how the pointer points to the Uranus, the natal.
So he's got this and this. So all they had, she needed to make sure that the Mercury would line up, and this fills out right here. This fills out the structure. The Uranus here fills out the structure, so it's a symmetrical structure. But it does line up as a midpoint. Just the arrows. It lines up right there.
Okay.
And then to here, we've got the Jupiter over here. This is why you guys need to keep doing your charts. This is scientists, people of science positions. So this is what's going to line up here. This child was not happy about this. Angus says to me, he probably hates me. She says. No, the Hades would indicate herbal medicine, not Neptune. It would herbal medicine would have to come from the earth. Okay? So the Hades, this is what's interesting about this is you. You would be the person who would bring in herbal medicine. That would be represented by Hades. Yeah, homeopathy would be Hades, not Neptune. Anything from a homeopath is coming from the earth, so it would be from Hades. So Mars, Mars, Hades, Jupiter would be homeopathy because you benefit from it. No, Neptune wouldn't be like Reiki. See, I don't know about that. We'd have to actually kind of think about that and see. We'd have to pull a bunch of Reiki masters. It is nebulous, I'll give you that, Edgar. That's like a really good, that's one of those things, and there are plenty of Reiki people. We should be able to find out. It is, I think you might be right, but we can't just say that it is. It sounds right. It seems right. It's a good starting place. We need like a bunch of Reiki masters. Now that I think about it. So Reiki would be Sun Neptune because it's an ethereal experience that involves the body. Or Meridian Neptune if it involves the spirit. Like that would be something we would really have to examine. And there are a lot of Reiki teachers and masters out here. Well, I can't believe we just blew through 2 hours. So I want to thank everybody for coming. If nobody else has any questions, we're going to jump off here and jump into the server. Nice has some time he can spend with us today. What do you think about that? I haven't seen or talked to Nice other than in passing on the server in a week. Today is our first opportunity. So I want to thank all of you. Yeah. See? He's so busy.
Thank you. It's been a great show. It's been really interesting, this show. Yeah.
I feel like you were probably doing server work and stuff while we were doing this.
I'm listening, but yeah, I'm just working as well.
You're always you are always multitasking.
Yeah, I popped in sometimes when people mention like this and that, if that pops on, this pops on. To see what's going on. Some sinister, I just pop back in and try to have a look, and then I switch back to work. But yeah, it's been an interesting show. Yeah.
I have to tell you something. As hard as you work, you're going to make like other Asian people look bad. You better slow it down. Like
Right.
you're picking up the pace for everybody. I don't think that's really good.
We have a lot of things coming down the pike as well as far as the app. We have a lot of ideas and stuff that we can implement. So stick around.
We have.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing. Listen, we're going to do a series of short videos.
Right.
With way better presentations. Now that I've kind of got the hang of PowerPoint, with way better presentations, more brief.
And it was good. It was great. Like this one, the one that you used for this show is great. It's great.
Well,
consider how far you have come.
The biggest thing that had to happen. Yeah. The biggest thing that had to happen, and I've been trying to explain this to people for a while.
Right.
So all these years, privately, I've been reading people and proving out the astrology to people who have just been not helpful or useful. And all along, and I've been very honest and very upfront for years that I really believed that
Right.
there should be a website and a free app or free software for everyone, just like Western offers. But that Uranian astrology is a visual type of astrology, and it requires visual examples, and no two charts.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, no two charts are alike, and that there's only one way to learn it, and that is to stay in your charts. We cannot confirm anything in astrology.
Exactly.
We can't prove anything. We're so far away from proof, it's not even funny. We're closer than anybody else because we're making people
And
prove out
before
events in
the
their
app,
lives.
we
Yeah.
couldn't even pull up two charts at the
No.
same time, right? Yeah.
No, we couldn't.
And that was the nightmare to go to went through, because it was like you can't do this. Like you can just right like today you can just pop up two charts and look at Inga's and her friend and just switching it up so quickly. But before this, we have to actually close down one chart and open up the other one and use what's it called again? Epic Pen, right?
Yes.
To draw it up from the first chart, and then you close it down, you open up another one, and you do that again. So
I have a wish list. What you guys do not understand is I gave Nice a wish list, and this is what I said to him.
Right.
I said, look, I've used, and we would do these screen shares, and I would show him all this different software I have. Okay?
Yeah.
Because I got WinStar, I have Janet.
Exactly. Exactly. When we said something like we have come so far, as long as like consider what actually happened, because it's really like this. Like we work together, right? But then we are really critical as well. Like okay, now the app can do this, and that. Now do this. Like it's a never ending development.
Right.
For us, I think, and it's the same. Like with PowerPoint, like Anna would come to me like, oh, now I can use PowerPoint. And then he would the next week he would be like, okay, now I can use transition. Now I can add animation. Like like when I say something like this, it's like we came so far. It's not so much to be mean, but it's actually happened, and we continue to do to go further. I mean, it's just like she's trying many things. She like we tried a lot of things to make teaching and our shows, our videos. We try to make it as simple as possible. As like we try to be demonstrative. We try to be like just try to teach.
Yeah, you can't talk about it. You can't just write about Uranian astrology, talk about it,
like,
have long-winded conversations, and have somebody understand what's going on.
Yeah, exactly, and yeah, we're gonna do something like that, like exactly what you just said, Edgar, right? Yeah. So we're trying to do like a small snippets of videos, going through some stuff, going through some of the things that we talked about on the show, because when you're actually reading something, it's difficult to go through all of that and trying to make it understandable, I think. So yeah, we're gonna push those. Yeah, actually, we have a schedule after the show to do some of that. But yeah, we dragged on. But anyway, it's been a great show, I think.
Well,
yeah.
Here, while we're on this, you're right. We do this is Uranian Astrology for Dummies.
Yeah.
Uranian Astrology for Dummies is demonstrated. To begin with, first we had to be able to get the app. We gave them a wish list, and the wish list there's still things that are going to be added to the app.
Yes.
Because in the wish list, I said to him, look, these are the features in every bit of this software. This is the features in this software that was great. These are the features in this software that was great. These are the features in this software that was great. These are the features in this software that was great. This is what we need above all. And I made it very, very clear to him.
Exactly.
Somebody like me, I want to be able to do. I want to be able to do. When I said to him, I want to be able to do 60 charts, he was like, okay. He was like, all right.
What happened that day? Right. What happened that day was basically she just pops up like this software. She talked about it for 5 minutes, and then she closed it down, open up another software, talked about it for 5 minutes, and she does this for like 5 different software, I think, right?
Yeah.
Back then,
it was like
the
this
software, and then a website, and then like how they do things, and yeah.
And why? And from the very beginning, saying to him, we're gonna have to go back to the original German. We're going to have to go all the way back to the beginning. saying to somebody, so for 15 years, do you know how many astrologers I talked to and people I read their charts? And
Right.
and for 15 years telling everyone the same thing, like, look, we really need to we need better software, we need something that's more expedient. Nothing should take this long. And I come
Yeah.
from the early days
And
of having
it's
to
been a journey,
manually
right?
do, yeah, having to
Journey.
manually do the
Yeah.
charts and having
Can
this
you
app there.
imagine, like,
Yeah.
manually draw all of this?
But the app
And then
is
you,
key. The app is
right.
very key because of that.
Hmm.
And it's several things about the app that are very important. The fact
Right.
that we here, let's get out of this. This is something we need to get out. Hold on. So
Yeah, because like
the
making
reason
it quicker also allow you to because when we learn something, when we're trying to learn something, it's important to be as like to explain things as quickly as possible, because like back then when we have to draw everything, it's sort of like, like, okay, I'm gonna draw this half sum and that half sums, and by the time that I drawn it, it's the context just lost on me. Like I have to go
you're
back and I have to redo
you're
things again.
spinning.
It's yeah,
Yeah, you're
exactly. You're
spinning.
spinning
It's
around, running
taking
around, trying to
too
understand
long.
everything. Yeah, exactly.
So in doing this, and by the way, you
Right.
can move this. You should know that you can move this. This is a little dull in the
Yes. Yeah,
background, but
that's that as well.
yeah, you should know that
That's that as well.
you can move this.
Yeah.
Okay? So you can move this around. So down here, we organize this the way every piece of software should have always been organized. I'm surprised nobody else did it, but they didn't. So we did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I have to be honest, it's kind of clear to both of us, hold on, that,
Just
yeah,
minimize that, and then you can drop. Yeah.
yeah. So,
Just minimize some Poseidon. Yeah. Okay. Right. There you go. And then you should be able to.
yeah, I'll put another
Yeah,
one up.
but we are working on this as well. We have a lot of things
Wait.
in the oven, so to speak. So yeah.
Well, we have
Can
a wish list.
yeah.
We have a list of things that still have to be done to the app. He works.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so well. I'm not designing the app, but I gave what I'd done is I'd given him years of files and a
Yeah.
collection, and
Years of research. Yeah.
knowing like, here's all of this stuff. This is what we really
Mm-hmm.
need. This is what they're doing. This is how to really do the astrology. This is the simplest, most efficient way to do it. And we wanted to design the app because it's very important to prove the astrology to me and to him.
Mm-hmm.
Other astrologers just want to sell it. But I promise you that there's a bunch of us out here. We want to prove it. We want to be able to see it in our own charts, and we want to be able to
Right.
see it in the charts of other people, and we actually want to be able to prove it. And that's what matters to NICE. That's what matters to me. That's what matters
Mm-hmm.
to a couple of other people that I know. And that's why we're making all of you do your charts, do it with the app, follow our system, follow our method.
Right.
The problem
Yeah.
with astrology is the Hades. There's a lot of backbiting. It's Uranus Hades, so there's evil deeds. If people are not going to, you know, this is really where serving the work and serving people matters, and getting nasty people out of the way. Like the minute you realize somebody is not abiding by the rules, and the rules are to stay focused on your own chart, to do the astrology openly. Doing this astrology secretly has been part of the problem. By demonstrating this openly, the more open we are, and we set the server up so you can still, keep your private life private. Anything too private, we're even not doing on the server. You can message us privately. If something's really private, we stop. We stop on the internet, and we stop definitely on the server and say, you know what, let's talk about this privately. But the server is so people can share their not their most intimate, most private things, but so that they can share and collaborate and work together. And I insist on everybody working together openly on the server. That's what the server is for, and that's why it's locked down. And we don't care whether we have 100 people chatting here every day. This isn't the chitty chat place. This is the Uranian Astrology School. And in the Uranian Astrology School, we care about our students, we care about our friends, we care about the collaboration. But the primary thing and purpose of being here on the server is to do astrology. Prove out the astrology. Somebody has an event, somebody has something happen. We want to know about it. We want to do the astrology. We want to test it out. We want everyone to see it. We want each of you to be able to prove out the events of your lives, so we give you the app. We listen, if I could one of the things that he is trying to do, because Epic Pen is a cost, is see what he can do about being able to write inside the app.
Yeah.
That's on the wish list.
Yes.
Okay? That's on the wish list, is to code that into the app.
Right.
So that eliminates Epic Pen. We would like to be able to give, that's why we're a not-for-profit. We're using, the years of what I went through to learn this, and the battering, and what I still go through. I'm battle worn, guys. You don't understand. Every time I come out here and you hear me on a rant, you're listening to a person with astrology PTSD. I've experienced and been the victim of some incredibly heinous actions and some of them have been collaborative. I'll tell you what astrologers can do. They'll collaborate to hurt somebody. That's for sure. They'll collaborate to spy on people. So that's why I keep the server small. I want the people that are dedicated to serving the work and unfolding the work and proving the work have a safe space and a place where we can all work when we're able to and leave messages openly. No, I don't sleep well or have the best days sometimes, so I'll leave a chart or leave something at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Nice can do the same, and then it sits there. Any of you can do that. Leave a chart, leave a question, and then leave it there. We'll find it. We'll get to it. We're here to prove this works over and over and over and over and over again. And where it does not work, we have to go back and clean it up. And where we don't have answers and formulas for things like Reiki, we don't guess. We assemble a massive amount of data, we run an analysis, and we either add or subtract from the formulas. And in this way, we're going to be able to present to people a much more clear language of astrology. So I want to thank everybody who sticks with us over and over and over again and keeps unfolding their chart. Yes. You matter. You matter more than anyone else because you're helping us prove the astrology. That's what matters. And when we speak up and we say things that, it's not West Uranian, it's because this works. Theirs doesn't. They yak. They talk. When people say, oh, I don't know enough about it, they don't either. That's why they're talking. That's the first clue. And when you see a Uranian astrologer post a mundane chart with event, it's like, oh, for God's sake, sit down. The repetition of patterns, that was what Vitae was trying to let everybody know. Like, you can't do this with just looking at a natal chart. If this is math and science, then you need math and science. Science would indicate you would need the repetition of patterns. Math would indicate you can't have a 10-degree orb. Contact would be important. Repetition, contact would be very key. They charge for everything. Forget about things they don't agree on. They charge for things they know, they don't know. Okay. they charge for air, they charge for time, they charge for the planet Babel. They should really, you know what? We really need to write a spoof song. I'm going to gather with some friends of mine, and we are going to write a spoof song on astrology. It's crazy. Anyway, guys, we'll be back here next week. We want to thank you so much for today. It's been great having all of you. Don't forget to like, comment, share. Please leave your comments, leave your questions. If you have a question about this show, other shows, leave your questions on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. We're on Instagram. Oh, I can't believe this. We're all over social media. We just want to be here, though, on My Astro World, doing astrology, for God's sakes, for real. That's the only thing we want to do. Okay? So don't forget, joinmyastroworld.com. It's free. You get your own app. You know, let us know if you're interested in becoming a student. We'll certainly give you an opportunity. And thank you all. And we'll be back here next week.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's been a great show. Yep. Bye-bye.